if it's good news, bad news, whatever. I think it's news that everybody was resigned to in terms of Alex Bregman no longer being a Houston Astro. But, man, the contract that he got from the Boston Red Sox that he agreed to, it was reported last night, he agreed to yesterday, I'm assuming. Alex Bregman will be a member of the Boston Red Sox, 3 years, $120 million a year with opt-outs after each season. So we can talk about whether he's going to opt out. We can talk about it. There's a lot to get into with this, but the biggest thing to me, Seth, like the thing that popped on the headlines, Alex Bregman is among the 6 or 7 highest-paid players in baseball based on average annual value. He and Scott Boras wound up playing this thing, I would say, almost perfectly, in my opinion.
He's tied with Judge for being the 6th largest contract, or average per year. Judge with a much longer contract, obviously, 9 years. But the fact that he got that plus an opt-out after every year, I mean, I can't be angry at him. That's a hell of a lot of guaranteed money, but also with the ability to be a free agent if you put in an MVP caliber season or something. And we were talking about it before the break. You were talking about just how good that ballpark's going to be for him.
Oh, yeah. He's gonna pepper the Green Monster. I said to Seth before we came on the air, I said, if you can find a prop bet out there for Alex Bregman, it's a very specific prop bet, but I'm assuming it exists somewhere, leading the league in doubles, go find that one, because he is going to, even with his normal April and May slump, he'll hit 50 doubles in that ballpark, for sure.
I'll tell you what, the other thing, too, we always talk about, I guess it's less and less of a talking point with each passing year, but all right, what's it like for a guy from the Astros when he goes to other teams where there's so much hatred league-wide for the Astros amongst fan bases? Players don't give a damn anymore.
Right.
But, I mean, Boston's got to be the best choice, right, for anybody that was on the 2017 Astros team?
Oh, yeah.
Alex Cora's up there. They had their own little shenanigans.
Yeah.
There's nobody. I feel like Boston's the place that has the least reason to hold anything against anybody when it comes to all of that.
The least amount of hypocrisy. Yeah, probably so. Yeah. Probably so. So he
becomes one of the least cheating players on that team right now.
I don't even know.
That's the way I'm going to look at it.
I wonder how many guys are still left on that team from back then. Probably not that many. The Red Sox have been many different iterations of the Red Sox. Good, been bad. They've been champions. They've been So 3 years, $120 million. I guess just to contextualize the marketplace, I've not seen any official reports other than just, Ari Alexander, 2 sources that said the Astros sweetened their deal. But I've not seen any specific numbers on it. So let's just assume that the deal the Astros had on the table was 6 years, $156. The other offers reportedly for Alex Bregman, the last 3 teams standing were reportedly the Cubs, the Tigers, and the Red Sox. We know that the Red Sox ultimately agreed to 3 years, $120 million with opt-outs after each year. The largest deal of those 3 in terms of years and total money was the Detroit Tigers, who went up to 6 years and a little over $170 million. They had an opt-out clause after 2 seasons, so that's a pretty good deal. $28 million a year, opt-out after 2 seasons. And then the Cubs offered 4 years, $120 million, and that was $30 million, so that's the second highest offer. And that had opt-outs after the 2nd and 3rd season. So both the Tigers and the Cubs wanted Bregman to stick around for at least 2 years under their deals. The Red Sox are like, man, we'll flirt with you for a year, and then you can opt out again. Look, regardless of which team he signed with, and I cannot believe he's getting $40 million a year, Alex Bregman. He's a very good baseball player, but wow, to see his name,
Judge.
To see his name, Seth, alongside Judge and Shohei and all these other names, like in that top echelon, is really jarring to me. And congratulations to him. I never thought in any of these deals with these opt-outs that Alex Bregman was going to go out and was already making under that deal. He's definitely not opting out. I don't know. I don't say definitely about anything. I just said the guy's going to hit 50 doubles at Fenway. He'll probably hit 30 home runs too. But if I had to bet, I would say that he's going to play out this deal, this 3-year deal with the Red Sox for $120 million, and probably still, almost definitely still, make up the difference of these 6-year deals that he had on the table.
I think that
he's definitely getting 50 or 60 more on the back end of this 3-year deal from somebody.
No, I think he's hedged. He's not betting on himself. He's hedging on himself.
Yeah.
It's a boatload of guaranteed money over 3 years. He's got opt-outs, so at any given point in these 3 years, if he looks like he's on fire or something, or there's something out, Boris can be whispering to people behind the scenes. So I have to do what I never wanted to do and acknowledge that Scott Boras handled this pretty damn well.
Yeah, I think Bregman wins here, man. I think Bregman wins, and I think they get it done right before pitchers and catchers start reporting here.
I also blame Carlos Correa for setting a good precedent for the opt-out scenarios.
These types of deals?
Yeah. I blame him. I blame Correa, so now I hate him even more than I don't really hate him that much.
But that hate part I am curious about. Now, you and I just went through all the administrative part of this contract and what the money is and how we think Bregman is going to do in Boston. The part I'm really curious about is how people feel, this morning but people, we know, Seth, through the course of the last few weeks of this negotiation, the majority of Astro fans that we interacted with were done with Bregman or name-calling or whatever. I'm curious, now that we know what the answers to the test are, now that we know what the ultimate deal became, I can't fault Alex Bregman, and thus I'm not really angry with Alex Bregman.
No, and I think a part of it, too, is Chandler Rome had pointed out in his article yesterday that one of the conditions of the CBA is that a team is not allowed to say that they're out on a player, on a free agent, which is funny. That's a pretty good little wrinkle the players negotiated in there. But so the Astros technically aren't even allowed to say they're out on a player or they're not in it anymore. And in hindsight, looking at it, the other part that's been annoying me is the reports that the Astros never rescinded their offer. All right, I mean, that's is that something you normally do? Like, hey, by the way, offer's off the table, bro.
We all wanted them to.
You can rescind an offer at any time.
I wanted them to.
I know, but if Scott Boras calls back, he's got to say, like, hey, is that deal still good?
Right.
It's not. The Astros can rescind it whenever the hell they want.
Yeah.
So I think the Astros, by and large, have been pretty much out on this, but they're not allowed to say so. And if there was a possibility they were going to keep the window open, the fact that this deal makes a lot of sense financially for Bregman, I think that actually helps. It's weird. We've come a long way in terms of athlete free agency, where it used to be any player that left in free agent was just a greedy, selfish bastard.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, hey, it makes sense. As a businessman, if he had left for a deal worse than what the Astros offered him, then I would have been PO'd, because that would have felt like a personal slump. Makes very good financial sense.
Yeah, I think people, if he had left for the Cubs deal, 4 years, 120, I would have been agitated by that because it's right in the neighborhood with the Astros.
But it had an opt-out, though, too.
It had an opt-out. Yeah, just agitated. There are people that were legitimately angry over the last few weeks over this whole thing. And I'm curious if now that we know what the deal looks like, if they still feel that way,
I'll tell you what. I mean, just to put it in terms of how lucrative this is on a per-year basis, it's the sixth highest contract average per year in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah.
If you take away the Mets' spending splurges, because they're just spending money like drunken sailors, it's the third highest. It's tied with Judge for the third highest. Yeah. But you add Scherzer, Verlander, and Soto into that, which obviously Soto is a more of a real, actual one. Yeah. Scherzer and Verlander were we're going to spend anything, whatever it takes, we're going to spend like crazy.
Yeah, so I would look at it like it's the fourth highest contract with that context.
Fourth highest real contract. And then, amongst position players as well. Well, if you want to call Shea Ohtani, whatever he is.
He's a position player right now, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we take out Freaks of Nature and the Mets, it's
maybe the best.
Second highest.
It's second highest. So who's on the list? You got the list in front of you.
It would be Zach Wheeler with the Phillies.
Okay.
So if you take him out, it's the highest amongst. If we take out Freaks of Nature and the Mets and pitchers. It's the highest.
This is the highest contract in Major League history for someone who could walk around society and not be gawked at, or a pitcher. The
position player who's not. You know what? I'll call Shohei Ohtani. Partly he's getting paid because of the pitching side of it. So
he is.
He's basically, we just call it that, the non-pitcher who's not Soto.
It's the highest paid contract for anybody who could just walk through a mall without anybody noticing them. Alex Bregman. He just looks like a regular dude.
Aaron Judge, who totally gets noticed.
Totally gets noticed. Texts are rolling in.
Too soft to play football? Is that your deal? That's what I would say, too.
Texts are rolling in. Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line. Question: do you think if he has another agent who doesn't care about getting the highest contract, would he have come back to the Astros? No. Scott Boras, I don't know if we talked about this on the air or off the air yesterday, Seth. Scott Boras has proven in negotiations with actual Houston Astros that he will do the bidding of his client. And his client's name is Jose Altuve. Like, Jose Altuve twice could have made more money and had bigger contracts at various points in his career, and he opted to sign 5-year deals with the Astros that were probably a little below what he might have been able to get on the open market.
Yeah, the only time I ever said we might want to blame Scott Boras is if Scott Boras had misgauged the market and that Alex Boras was getting bad advice. It's very clear now that Scott Boras was giving Alex Bregman very good advice.
Yes.
And he didn't misgauge the market. My biggest wish in all of this was to have the ability to crush Scott Boras, and I can't do it. No, he works for Alex Bregman.
Yep.
This is what Alex Bregman wanted. Don't try to deceive yourself into thinking that somehow, poor innocent Alex Bregman was led down the path to greed and avarice by Scott Boras.
No, this is a really good deal. Text message: still love Bregman, but hope he crashes and burns. I'm not rooting for Bregman unless I place that prop bet that I talked about. Then I hope he bats 200, but it's all doubles. I'm placing a prop bet on him leading the league in doubles, playing in Fenway with the Green Monster right there.
Well, ultimately, if he crashes and burns, or if he's not worth this contract, then the Astros made a really good decision.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the best you could say.
Yeah, and I think you could argue that just not having would you have won 6 years, $156 million, and you're way over the competitive balance tax? Would you have been super psyched about that if you're an Astros fan?
No, I would have been, especially when we look at the fact that the Astros had already stretched for Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
And that was on Altuve's deal this time around is very team-friendly.
Front-loaded,
His salary goes down to what you should realistically expect from a Jose Altuve when he's 37 years old.
Yeah, he's making $10 million a year the last 2 years of that deal. So, in 3 years. All right, Payne and Pendergast with you. So that's the big news. Keep weighing in on the Jim Adler Texas Hammer text line, 713-572-4610. Alex Bregman, $40 million a year over 3 years with the Boston Red Sox. So we'll talk plenty about that today. If you haven't heard, Seth and I are on our way to spring training. The final week of February. Unfortunately, they don't play the Red Sox that week, but we're looking forward to heading down there.